Welcome to the Fantasy Dad Duo podcast, where daddies do fantasy. I'm Jack Banks with my co-host Jeff Sitz. Quick question, Jeff. Would you rather win our fantasy league or get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep?
Oh my God. To be honest with you, I could probably live off of 5 hours of sleep, so I'll take winning our fantasy football league.
I would never sleep again for the rest of my life to win our league one more time.
Oh my God. After 5 wins, I would give up. I'd probably give up an arm and a leg to at least get 2 wins.
All right. So in today's show, we're going to cover some dynasty rookie rankings, rookie landing spots, and Raiders doing Raider things, some blind rankings, and then we'll end up with some quick dad takes. Jeff, how you feeling about the episode today?
I'm feeling pretty good. Episode number 1, can't go wrong.
Yeah, we're 2 days out from the from the NFL draft, so it's a little primer of these rookies for you, and of course, you know, those landing spots are gonna determine if they succeed or fail. But let's get started with some dynasty rookies. In this section, I'm gonna go through a bunch of players, and I'll let you react. So this is the ADP of which they're drafted. You'll react if they're too high, too low, or just right of where they're being drafted, and short-term versus long-term value. So let's kick it off with the big name. That's Jeremiyah Love out of Notre Dame. Supreme athlete, ran a 4.36 at the combine. He has almost 3,000 rushing yards in college, almost 40 touchdowns. He's got that home run speed, zone vision, contact balance. What's your take on this guy? Where do you want to see him land, and what do you like about him?
This is my number 1 in this rookie draft. He would be my number 1 overall. Reason being because he is explosive. He is a monster behind that offensive line. He is just. I've over the past 2 to 3 years, I've probably seen 5 or 6 games of his, and he is just the most entertaining on top of like most athletic that's on the field whenever he's out there.
So would you take Love or Ginty?
Love or who?
Or Ginty?
Love.
You, and is that regardless of landing spot or
so you as far as landing spot goes, it's going to have to be somebody that actually needs what he's got to offer, and on top of that, it's going to have to be somebody that doesn't have that OL on top of their top 5 needs in the draft, which is, if you ask me, few and far between, but that's just my dad take on that.
I'm a huge fan of Love. I think he's got that 3-down skill set, that home run speed. He kind of reminds me of an Arian Foster, that one cut, decisive running. A bit more speed than Foster, a bit less power, but you can't go wrong with a perennial Pro Bowler like that. So I'm taking him at the 101. I don't see him moving from there, regardless of where he lands.
For what he's got to offer, I don't see him moving from there either, to be honest with you.
Yep. Unless something crazy happens. Now at number 2, and now this is super flex ADP, we got Mendoza. So he's going to the Raiders. That's all but confirmed at the 101. Do we like him in that number 2 pick in super flex?
You could take him or leave him, if I'm being honest with you. It's one of those things where you don't really know exactly what you're putting your hands on, because he was put in with Indiana, but they built around him. They gave him exactly what he needed to succeed because they knew what they were doing when they got him. That being said, we'll say the 99.9% that he actually does land with Las Vegas. Do they have what he needs? And do they have, like, I don't know, the willpower to actually push forward and win with this kid? He's young.
Yeah, I look at Vegas as a big question mark. They have Clint Kubiak, who just proved it with the Seahawks. He's a heck of an OC and taking over as head coach. he should give them an environment to thrive in. But like you said, they're missing weapons. Their wide receiving core is sad to say the least. They have Bowers, who's a bona fide stud. Let's not get that wrong. And Gene T, who I like as a workhorse. But outside of that, who's catching the ball? And can they address that in the draft? It's possible. But rookies are a dice roll.
I mean, I'll say this: if Kubiak can take a guy who was literally seeing ghosts a couple of years ago and win a Super Bowl with him, I think there's some things with a kid that can actually. I mean, Sam Darnold 3 years ago, nobody was even talking about him anymore.
Yeah, I mean
and he just won a Super Bowl. So now we're talking about the kid that just won the national championship last year on Big Ten Indiana, and now we're undefeated Big Ten Indiana last year, and now we're talking about him first pick overall Las Vegas that just came off of a doo-doo butter season because they couldn't get any of their shit together. So,
yeah, well, how's this? Sam Darnold, with all that success last year, was QB 14. Does that feel like the ceiling to you of Mendoza? Or do you think he could outperform
like that? Meaning QB 14 for Mendoza as well, or anything beyond that?
Right. Do you think he could beat Sam Darnold's mark in that Kubiak offense?
I think Darnold had the weapons. And if there wasn't a weapon on something that he needed, he somehow found a way to create something right then and there, which isn't always, it's not taught. It's something you have to learn on your own. You just have it at some place during practice. You figure it out. Your coach could tell you over and over and over again, but then when you get into a game, all that practice is going to go right out the window. Everybody knows that. You got the lights and the people looking at you. I think this kid has got talent, but I don't want to see him burn like Tebow did.
Are you worried at all about Kirk Cousins signing that $20 million deal? Do you think he could start on that Mendoza could start on the bench and the Raiders could, start Cousins and have Mendoza learn under him?
I think as far as fantasy goes, that's definitely something that you're going to need to take in and sit on for a little while, just due to the fact that is Kirk going to come back and be old Kirk, or are we going to see Atlanta Kirk all over again?
That's true. He performed a little bit.
They say he's healthy.
Yeah, he performed a little bit at the end of last year. He gave life to that offense, but personally, I think that they're going to have a hard time sitting the 101 pick down, and I think Mendoza is going to be the starter. But
I think he's probably going to start over him as well, because I don't think we're ever going to see Minnesota Kirk again. But we're not ever going to see Redskins trade rape Kirk again either. So we'll see what happens.
All right, so that's the 102 per ADP right now. The 103 is a guy I think you like, and that's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State.
I do like him.
He ran a bit of a slow 40. He is 21 years old. He ran a 4.53 40, which is a little bit slow, but his college stats are pretty darn good. Career 121 receptions, 1,800 yards, 14 touchdowns. He's a crafty route runner, body control, boundary winner, chain mover. The big criticism that I have of him is he has never truly been the alpha on his team. He's kind of always played second fiddle to another elite wide receiver. You could say the same thing about Justin Jefferson at LSU. You could say the same thing about Egbuka at Ohio State. So what do you think about Carnell Tate, and is he gonna have more success in the NFL than he did at college?
I do. I like Carnell Tate. He's not my number one receiver in fantasy right now. My number one receiver comes from a little bit further south than Ohio State, but I will say this: he is the full package. He's shown that he can be the full package in college, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to move straight on to the NFL either. It's a completely different game. Now, that being said, he can jump. He can stop on a dime. He can start on a dime. The kid's about as explosive as you can be for his body size. And I like him. I just am a little worried that not always having been the number one on his team, like you said, is going to show when he becomes a possible number one wherever he lands, or if he's not as, what's the word I'm looking for, versatile that most receivers need to be, especially in their first season, because you never know where they're going to be.
I'm personally a believer in those smooth tactician route runners, which he has flashed. He's my number 2 dynasty rookie in this class, because I think he does lack some of that elite upside. But to me, he's almost, the highest floor, almost a guarantee to be a producer in the NFL. But that ceiling, I worry about. I think that he may lack that elite upside.
Agreed.
Number 4 in ADP, I was actually a little bit surprised by this, but it's Mekhi Lemon. How do we feel about him? He's that shifty slot receiver. He's got that dog in him. He had that hilarious interview, that draft interview where he was acting. I don't know if you've seen it. It's worth a Google. But how do you feel about him? I'm worried about the size. He's only 5'11". He's light, but he's very shifty. He's got that slot profile.
I heard him compared to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure if it's actually comparable because I don't know if he's I don't know if you want to use tall, short, whatever you want to say, but Victor Cruz. Do we know the height on Victor Cruz?
Victor Cruz was a little guy too. I think he was probably around the same, 5'10", 6 feet, somewhere in there.
So the shiftiness of Victor Cruz, Lemon has shown it in his college career. The only idea is when he starts, where he lands, is he going to be able to produce where he lands? It's really all about where they land when you're talking about where you're going to take him in fantasy. For him, on my list for top fantasy rookies this year, he's not even on my top 10. So,
oh wow. All right, well that kind of puts him out of your drafting profile for sure. At the 105, we have Jordan Tyson, and Jordan Tyson is one of my guys. He was productive at Arizona State, albeit injured. A lot of injury history. He ran a 4.55. Again, not the fastest guy in the world. Projected mid first round pick. We've seen a lot of Giants talk, a lot of Giants chatter. He in his college career, he did catch 22 touchdowns, 2,200 yards, and he really profiles as that outside X, vertical ball tracking, productive profile, red zone value receiver. I could see him mossing people in the end zone. I could see him burning people deep. He's got that game speed, not that combine speed. To me, this is my wide receiver 1 of the class. I think he's an athletic freak. I think he tracks the ball well. He's got those instincts. If it's me, he is the first guy drafted on the draft on Thursday. The first wide receiver drafted.
He very well is going to be the first wide receiver drafted. It's just a matter of what happens with draft spots and what teams trade up and what teams end up going a little bit further down. I have heard rumors today that the Giants are probably going to have to go after him at 5 if they actually want him. The original rumor was that they were going to take him at 10 and they were going to go a little defense possibly, if not go after Love at 5. But rumor being today that they're going to have to use that fifth first round pick, or 5th pick in the first round to go after Jordan Tyson. And he is my number 2 wide receiver in fantasy for me as well. I would be going after him very high due to just the fact that he can be a route runner, but he's also that special tier of people that can take on the title of WR1 and run with it in whatever direction they want, and they get the green light with whatever they're going to do. This is the kind of guy that some people go home dreaming about the night before and then having nightmares that he ends up in the exact same division and their team has to play it in the next season. He's the real deal. He's shown it. I think he's still showing it. The 4.540 is he's a little slower than I originally thought he was, but man, when he moves, he definitely looks like he's moving.
Yeah, that's why I say he's got that game speed, not that combine speed. I look at that guy and I see a number one X receiver. Although, if he lands on the Giants, who is going to be that number one? Is it going to be Neighbors or is it going to be Tyson?
Would you put Tyson in slot?
I don't think I would.
I don't think I would either.
I think you'd have a little dynamic like the Falcons did back in the day with Roddy White and Julio Jones. Big boys play on the outside and you let them go out and dominate out there.
So I don't think a little Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt.
Yeah. Well, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, they were all over the field. That's another great combo. But I don't think Dart is afraid to throw it deep. I think he could support two productive fantasy wide receivers.
I'm gonna agree. I think he showed this past season that he's got some, when he wasn't busting heads with his head, he's got some vision about him, and I think it's a vision that nobody really expected him to have when he was coming out of Ole Miss. He's definitely he's got some power that I think we haven't seen in his arm yet as well, because we didn't really get to see the full package last year because the team wasn't fully stacked. But I have a feeling if Tyson were to land at that number 5 pick on the Giants, or 10, you said?
Or 10.
Do you see him dropping that low?
I do. I think teams are going to draft Tate above him, Carnell Tate above him, and
You think Carnell Tate is going to go before Jordan Tyson?
I do. I think
interesting.
Just from what I've seen, and I think the sure thing of Tate teams will like versus kind of a little bit of mystery box from Jordan Tyson.
Okay, I'll take it.
I mean, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Crazy things happen on the draft, and some teams keep those cards close.
Well, the way that I've heard it all day from all the other podcasts that I've listened to is all it takes is one team. You just need that one team that's going to push hard on somebody, and they will use him any way they can to win.
Yeah. All right. So at the 106, I'm going to just rattle some off. You pick one to talk about. So I'm going to rattle 3 names, and I'm going to let you choose one. Mm-hmm. We got Kenyon Sadiq at 106. Casey Concepcion at 107, and Omar Cooper Jr. at 108.
I'm gonna say, all right, so I'll say this. Anybody on Indiana, Omar Cooper Jr. I'll use him as my for instance right now. Anybody on Indiana, they had Mendoza. In college last year, he was the clear number 1 quarterback for, if not the whole season, at least the last 8 to 9 games. Any receiver that has the number 1 quarterback overall in the NCAA is going to show some sort of talent that's given to them through what that quarterback has. Now, that being said, I also think Cooper's going in the first round.
We have him. I've seen expected draft range early second round, so a late first round pick is definitely possible. His 2025 stats: 70 receptions, 900 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's explosive, versatile, long speed. 13 touchdowns in one season. He produces. Right here in my notes, I have that same question you just asked. Was his production generated by Mendoza or his talent level? I look at him and I worry about his ability to create separation in the NFL. Or does he need manufactured touches? Are you having to throw him screens? Are you having to give him carries out of the backfield? Are you having to scheme up, stacked boxes and stuff? Because we know his yards after catch are elite. Do you worry about that lack of separation, or do you think he's so athletic it might not matter?
I think athleticism comes a long way when it comes to stuff like that. I would usually take athleticism over generally anything else, but as far as I can't get away from the fact that Mendoza was his quarterback. I really can't. I just it's hard. It's hard for me to do stuff. That's like saying, I mean, no, because I was going to use Tom Brady as an example, but you can't use that example with Randy Moss. That would make me look like an idiot. I can't. Say,
how about Puka? How about Puka and Stafford?
Oh, see, Stafford's the GOAT. So when you're looking at, and that's a hard take, and that's going to get used against me somewhere down the road. But Puka Nacua. So now, I don't know. He still drops balls, man.
Stafford is like a kingmaker, right? So he's had 2,000 yard seasons, almost 2,000 yards with three players now, and all three. Well, Puka and Calvin never saw anybody but Stafford. But you wonder, is like you said, is Mendoza making Omar Cooper Jr.? Is Stafford making Puka? The question must be asked.
It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to figure out once half the season goes by, if both are starting, we're going to find out what the real deal is. Is it both of them or is it just one of them? It's going to be interesting.
I've seen the Debo comp with Omar Cooper Jr. and that's a dangerous comp because I don't know if I've ever seen a player like Debo succeed in the NFL besides Debo. We've seen a lot of these like gadget guys kind of flounder without being able to create separation. So I agree. I'm worried about him. I'm probably taking a couple guys who are projected to go later ahead of him.
Agreed. Me too. Yeah, there's I can think of at least two right off the rip that are projected to go later than him in the second or third round.
All right. So I'll read off the last four names of the projected ADP first round of dynasty drafts. And I'll let you pick one to talk about. That's Jadarian Price, Denzel Boston, Ty Simpson, and Eli Stowers.
All right. So I could talk about three of these guys, but I'll leave it to
you can make it quick. You could say something quick about each
Jadarian Price. I love Jadarian Price. I think out of the list that I gave you for my top guys, I think he was on list number 2 for top guys this year in this rookie draft. I don't think him being behind Love caused anything for him. I think he's not as talented as Love, but I will put him up there with, he's above everybody else that I can think of right now in this draft, just off the top of my head. If for me, it's Love and then Price, and it just so happens that they both landed on Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think he's got that explosive element. I do worry a bit. You see the top two running backs in a class on the same team. I start to worry about system. I start to worry about O-line, and is there a reason both of these guys dominated the way they dominated outside of talent? I think it's possible. Does it scare me away? No, I like guys like him in fantasy. He catches passes. He's explosive. If you draft him in dynasty and he averages 10 touches a game, that's probably enough to be productive. That's probably enough to be a high-end RB3, low-end RB2. And then if he gets the volume, he could be a cheat code with those receiving skills. So I like him there. I like him there at 9, maybe above Omar Cooper. But I think he's got the talent.
The second guy that I was going to mention would be Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson's, he's generated some conversation of late. of teams that would like to go after him. I've heard rumors of Cardinals trying to trade down to go after him. I've heard rumors of the Steelers need to go after him with that 21st pick in the first round. I've heard there was one other team, I can't remember. Somebody was going to try to trade down as you know what? The other rumor I heard was the Titans, but why would the Titans want to go after him when they have somebody that's already picked his own ass off the fire from the last like 3 or 4 games of the season last year? And if the Titans end up landing Love, he could show even more so this season too. So that being said, the 2 teams specifically that I heard, Cardinals trading down within the draft, and then Pittsburgh trying to snag him at that 21st in the first round.
Yeah, I look at him. I maybe it's an easy comp, but I see AJ McCarron. I see a guy that doesn't have that high end talent. I see a guy that at best he's going to be a low end starter in this league. I'm not a big fan of Ty Simpson.
You don't think he's going to end up being a Brock Purdy?
No. I think Brock Purdy's got some real talent. We've seen Brock Purdy, be in the MVP conversation. Maybe
Correct,
he didn't.
but going into his draft.
Oh, he was Mr. Irrelevant.
This is exactly my point. If you're going in and you're Mr. Irrelevant, Ty Simpson's not Mr. Irrelevant. So there's juice being built up on due to his name being thrown around right now. But I'm not a big Alabama fan. I can't stand Alabama. So we'll start off right there. Him being in Alabama, he has all he needs around him to succeed because that's how they build that team. Everything that was there was already there before he even got there. It's going to be there after he leaves there because Alabama is just one of those college programs that builds greatness. Now, that being said, when he gets to the NFL, is there going to be a team that has that built greatness already there that he's going to be able to use? Sure, but it's not going to be the one that he lands on because the one that he lands on is going to be the team that follows him because there has to be at least one team to go after him that puts him in the spot that they think he's going to do best for them. That being said, I don't see if let's say the Cardinals do trade down and the Cardinals snag him with
20th.
Okay, so we'll say 20th. If they get him 20th, do I see the Cardinals having a winning season? No, but I see them getting 6 or 7 wins. Because for some reason,
they get 6 or 7 wins with Ty Simpson, then they will be surprising people on defense because I do not think that guy is going to lead an offense to score a ton of points. I mean, is he going to come in and outperform what Jacoby Brissett did when Jacoby Brissett was leading a competent offense and still went 1-11? Look, I'm coming off as a Ty Simpson hater. I just think he's overvalued in the draft. I'd be happy with him going in the 3rd round. The juice he's getting as a 1st-round pick.
Well, it's a weak quarterback draft.
Right.
There's not much to choose from. So teams that don't have what they're looking for are going after what they think could be something. Now, that being said, 8's going to blow up in somebody's face and everybody else is going to sit back and watch.
Is he materially better than Nussmeier? Is there really anything he does better?
I'm a Nussmeier fan. I think Nussmeier is probably one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in this draft, and he's not even being talked about right now.
He'll probably go 3rd, 4th round, and like I really don't see any big difference. I like Ty Simpson better than Nussmeier, but not by 2 rounds. Not by enough to draft.
Now, let me ask you this: Could Simpson be the Daniel Jones story? Comes out dragging his ass, dragging his knuckles, looks confused every single play, and then gets traded and becomes a stud?
Look, there's a scenario where he could succeed for sure. I mean, if he gets drafted by the Cardinals or the Jets and has a horrible start to his career, and then he finds his way over to the Rams after Stafford retires, absolutely he could succeed in the right scenario. I just think there's higher upside, players. Granted, he is my number 2 QB in this class. I almost think you don't even draft a number 2 QB in this class. You just wait till the later rounds and give a guy a shot. Maybe you find a Russell Wilson who went in the 4th round. Maybe you find a Dak Prescott who went, I think, 3rd or 4th round. Also a Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Let's use
Tom
that
Brady.
draft capital. Tom Brady. Yeah.
Tom Brady.
I think we're trying not to say his name. But anyways, okay, so that's the first round. I think, for the most part, it makes sense. I really don't like that spot for Ty Simpson. That's just about it. But outside of that top 12, I know there's one guy in particular you're itching to talk about. So I'll hand it right over to you. I'll give you a quick rundown of some of his stats after you give your introduction. But the floor is yours, Jeff. This is Jeff's guy of the year.
Zachariah Branch. Watching him play with Georgia this past season, was he on my radar beforehand? No, wasn't on my radar beforehand. I had heard the name. I knew that he was at USC. I knew that he was a football player and he was a wide receiver. I knew that he was actually pretty good, but I did not know what I saw this year with Georgia. I'm not going to say he carried the offense because it's a Georgia Bulldogs offense. The offense can carry itself because their coaches know what they're doing. Again, it is a top line tier college team. The coaches, it's built from the bottom up. They strive for greatness. They find greatness, and greatness strives to play for the Georgia Bulldogs, just like they do other teams like Alabama. It's really just the SEC, but we can get to that at a different date. So as Zachariah Branch goes, he is like a cheetah when he runs. He can stop on a dime. I've seen the guy turn at a 90-degree angle and run. Now, granted, that's an easy way to tear certain things in your legs. And I'm not going to start naming off things that you can tear in your legs because I'm not a doctor. And I'm just the dad that's sitting here drinking a beer doing a podcast. But what I will say is Zachariah Branch is somebody that will surprise teams because I think he's got the Emeka Egbuka talent. But that being said, I think he's not as reliant as Emeka Egbuka is and could be. Now, granted, throughout the year last year, we saw Emeka Egbuka not be as reliant as he was when he was on Ohio State. Now, that being said, I think everybody's allowed a down year when they're talked about as highly as somebody like he is and was and still is. Zachariah Branch, I think he's a great wide receiver, great football player. I would say he's got a good head on his shoulders, but as we saw this last weekend, boys will be boys, kids will be kids. He's still young. He's not. Everybody's allowed one. I'll give him one, and it wasn't a terrible bad one because the bond was set for $39. So I'm really not complaining. Everybody makes dumb mistakes when they're out with their buddies at their alma mater doing things for their spring football game. That being said, I'm ready to see him come to the NFL and just absolutely shit on defenses. He was my boy with Georgia. Loved watching him. He took them into the playoffs this year and made some key plays throughout fourth quarters until they ended up losing. Even in the game that they lost in, he still made key plays in the fourth quarter. He's a guy that you can depend on. And if he's a guy that you can depend on that's going to play as well as he did in college and the NFL, it really doesn't matter who takes you at that point as long as you're ready to be that number one or that number two that's going to see, what do you think, 5 to 8 targets a game?
You could hope. He ran that 4.35 on the combine, 4.35 40. So he has that burner speed. He's projected to go in the second round. So I hope that that little arrest doesn't impact him. I don't think it will.
I don't think it's not going to prove to be much.
Yeah, he's got instant acceleration. He's got that slot separation. He's used in the return game, so he's great with the ball in his hands.
You were saying earlier, did Does the quarterback make the play when we were talking about the Matt Stafford Puka Nacua situation? So what I'll say with Zachariah Branch is you can throw. He's a manufacturing guy. He manufactures his own touches. You can throw the ball. He's the kind of receiver that's going to get to wherever that ball is thrown to because he's like a magnet. I saw it happen all season this last season. It took him a little while to get some heat under his ass so he could start moving from the beginning of the season, but he's like I said, he moves like a cheetah. He can stop on a dime, he can turn on a dime, and it's almost like his speed doesn't even slow down at all. If you can get to the ball wherever that quarterback is going to throw it to, I'm not going to say he's going to be one of the greats. I could, but I would be wrong like usual. But I will say he's not going to be a Devin Funchess.
Well, let's hope not. So you teased this earlier, Jeff. You teased this earlier. Is he your number one receiver in this class?
He is my number one receiver in this class, yes.
Okay, so nose to the grindstone. You said Jordan Tyson was your number 2. If you are the Giants sitting on the clock at number 10, who are you drafting?
That being said, the Giants already have their guy that's going to create touches for himself, as Malik Neighbors would be. So I would say if I was the Giants sitting on the clock at that 10th pick, I'd probably end up going Jordan Tyson.
And that's just because the skill sets match together better.
Correct. Yes, I agree.
Okay, and I have one guy outside of the top 12 that I really love, but he's projected round 3. And as we know with fantasy running backs, if you fall past that 3rd round, you're useless. So if he falls past that 3rd round,
well,
okay, well, you're usually useless. That's true. There are some good examples.
I was going to say just last season, didn't Cam Scadaboo fall past that 3rd round?
He did, and Bucky Irving has, and a few others, but the hit rate goes way up if you're 3rd round higher.
No, 100%. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And that guy that I like is Jonah Coleman, and he doesn't really jump off the page as some supreme athlete. He doesn't really have anything sexy about him, but he just produces. He's annoying to tackle. He bowls his way into the end zone. You could hand him the ball about 1,000,000 times, and he doesn't wear down throughout the game. Compact, breaks tackles. He catches the ball surprisingly well, and he's a little guy. He's 5'8" or 5'9", something like that. But I love the productive college running backs.
Look at his college stats. His college stats are nothing to blink at.
They're crazy. 552 rushing yards, 3,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, 87 receptions. He's a power back, or it seems like a power back, and 87 catches for 830 yards and 3 more touchdowns there. He just does it all, and he's not flashy, but I like him, and I think obviously landing spot's going to be everything. But if he finds his way onto a team like the Seahawks, a run-heavy offense without Walker, with Charbonnet hurt, I think it could be dangerous. What do you think, Jeff?
He was my I do believe he was my 5th pick on that first tier that I gave you, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was a guy you wanted to talk about, but I stole him from you.
And that's a good thing because I had a lot to say about him as well, and it was pretty much all the same shit that you just said. So I will say this: if you're in a dynasty draft and it's a 12-man league and he's still there in those last 4 picks, I would snag him. I think he's something that you can sit and wait with, because once we see a couple of games, I think it's going to be just like a Chan. You see 1 or 2 games where he gets to pop off and show you what he's actually worth, he's going to stick around. And now every single league that you're looking at Chan is going to be what? First round, early second round, and any not just dynasty, any fantasy league redraft.
He very well could be. He was a league winner last year, so that draft capital is going to go up. They profile a little bit differently to me, but same concept. Yeah, it's Chan just was productive, and that's the kind of player I want on my team. All right, so let's talk a little bit about rookie landing spots. Now we covered a lot of this in the previous section, so I'm just gonna give you a few questions, right? So we know Fernando Mendoza is landing on the Raiders, or at least that's what everybody thinks. So if you are starting a dynasty team and you are ranking 3 number 1 overall picks, Bryce Young, Cam Ward, and Fernando Mendoza, how are you ranking those for dynasty?
As number 1 picks?
No. So they all went number 1 in their respective draft.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say, I mean, the way that we see him now, Bryce Young, like Bryce Young now, or when Bryce Young got drafted?
Bryce Young now.
He wouldn't be my
Bryce
first
Young now,
overall
Cam
pick.
Ward now, Mendoza.
Yeah,
now.
they wouldn't. None of them would be my first overall pick.
So you're taking Mendoza first,
Correct.
and then out of
I would
Bryce
probably
Young,
take Mendoza first, Bryce second, and then Cam third.
and that's for dynasty. Do you feel the same way for redraft?
For redraft, I'd probably take Bryce first. Yeah, Bryce first, Mendoza second, Cam third. I'm not a Cam guy. I didn't like him in Miami. I don't like him in the NFL. That being said, I'm also a Giants fan, so you can't really trust anything that's coming out of my mouth. So I'm also wearing a Matt Stafford, he's the GOAT jersey. But that being said, Mendoza, very excited to see what he's got coming. Bryce Young now is turning into the stud that everybody thought he was going to be because he finally got his shit together. And he's making the team look like there's something. There's something. They're nothing to fret with. They've got some dangerous things about them. And I think the Titans are just a dumpster fire at the moment. I think last season they won some games last season, is what I'll say. They won some.
Okay, so if the Titans go ahead and draft Jeremiyah Love at number 4, does that make you feel any better about Cam Ward? And how does that make you feel about Jeremiyah Love?
It makes me feel very good about Love because he's going to be their number 1 option. But that also being said, it's going to give Ward a little bit of the weight off of his back. And when somebody who is the number 1 on that offense gets a little bit of weight off of their back, things can start to happen a little bit differently. It doesn't even matter if you've got, I mean, I'll put it this way. You look at Tom Brady when he came in for Drew Bledsoe. He was not the number 1 on that
No
team.
more Tom Brady, Jeff. No more Tom Brady.
I know. I'm sorry. We're going. This will be the last one. I promise. He wasn't the number 1 on the team, but he came in with nothing to put his name to. He had everything that was on his back, but not being the number 1, there was just a little bit less. So we went out and he prospered. Am I saying that Cam Ward is going to prosper? Fuck no. Do I think he's going to get more wins than he did last season? Yes. If they get Love on the team, I do think they're going to have more than they did last year. I don't think they're a playoff caliber team. I don't think you can go from dumpster fire to gold because if you polish a turd, it's still a turd. But that being said, I think I would still like Love, and I would like Cam better specifically because with a little less weight, he's got a little bit more room to fly.
You know, I actually would like to see Love on the Titans, and you know, Robert Saleh, the new head coach, and Brian Daboll, the new OC, they're going to want to run the ball, and they do. Well, Daboll at least has some success with a mobile quarterback, with Josh Allen, and you know, some also with Daniel Jones. So I wouldn't mind seeing him on that team. I think there's better landing spots because I just worry about the health of the offense as a whole. How do you feel about
the Titans? Because I don't want the Giants to get him.
How do you feel about that coaching staff, Jeff?
Which coaching staff?
Titans.
I think how do I?
They're all bald, Jeff. They're all bald. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, that's what you're getting at. Oh, I was going to say, I think the true Titans coaches. I was going to say, I think the true Titans coach is now the Patriots coach. That being said, the fact that they're all bald, number one, that's fucked up, and number two, if I end up looking like a dumpster fire like that, I hope you would tell me.
That you should reach out. Maybe they'll hire you.
There's a good shot. Can't get much worse.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so is there a spot that Love could land that would actually scare you? Let's assume that he goes top 10. That's fair, right?
Fair. Yeah.
And he's not going to go to the Raiders. So that leaves Jets, Cardinals, Titans, Giants, Browns, Commanders, Saints, and then Chiefs and Bengals. Well, he probably won't make it there, but
all right, so 7th overall is Commanders.
Yep.
And if we go past, he won't make it past the 10th. But if he does go past the 10th, Cowboys at 12?
I'm not sure. I know the Cowboys have been trying to move up into the top 6. I've seen they're trying. I
have seen that. That's been one of the top on the rumorville as well. I think I could be wrong, but I think I heard Cowboys 12. Now, if anybody in the same division as the Giants gets this guy, I'm gonna be scared shitless. If the Commanders get him, I will be scared shitless, because if they get him, that's just taking their offense and pushing it to a spot to where they can get right back into the playoffs like they were 2 years ago.
Yep, I love him on the Commanders. That's where I just selfishly hope he lands in terms of a football fan. Jaden and him running read options and just spacing that offense out and fast. Of course, I think that if he lands on the Jets and Browns somehow, look, I wouldn't put it past them. Are the Jets probably going to draft Arvell Reese or David Bailey? Yes. Wouldn't put it past him. But if he lands on one of those teams, I'm going to lose a lot of faith. I'll still take him at the 101 in Dynasty, but those are just dumpster fires.
I don't see. Man. If he does get drafted by the Jets, request a trade as soon as possible. Show up, show out, do your job, get it done, and then just beg and plead to request a trade.
So let's in this hypothetical, let's say he lands on the Commanders. Is Love a round 1 top 12 redraft pick? Does he in your fantasy draft? Is he a first-round pick? Redraft, not dynasty.
I mean, you're talking to the guy that takes a lot of chances when it comes to dynasty, just redraft in general. Fantasy football and I, with taking chances, don't agree. Do I continuously take these chances? Yes. Will I continue to take these chances? Yes. Because if you're not getting heads, you're eventually going to flip heads at some point. You've got to. Now, the percentages here are a little bit different because when you're trying to get heads, it's only 50-50. But with what I'm doing, it's a little bit more than that. I would definitely take him in the top 12. I would.
Would you take him above, let's say, Omarion Hampton?
No. And I wouldn't take him because
bring up these draft rankings right now for you.
Hampton's O-line is a strong bet to being a good one. So
right now there are projected 6 running backs in the first round of fantasy. We have Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Gene T, and I'll throw in Devon Achane. Out of any of those names, are you taking him over them?
Oh my God. I'm never going to hear the end of this, but I'm just going to fucking say it anyways. CMC, 2 injury prone. Jonathan Taylor, 2 injury prone.
RB1 last year.
Hey, all it takes is one season with me. And Am I the guy that you want to trust? No, probably not. But I'm the guy that's willing to take those chances to actually see if you can win where everybody else is saying that you're going to have that piece of shit team that's not going to go anywhere. Out of those guys, those would probably be the only two that I would take him over, specifically because of that one injury-prone problem.
Okay. All right. So you have him late first.
I will say correct. There is a draft that I have coming up on Monday for Dynasty, though, not a redraft league. It's for a Dynasty league, and I will say this: I do plan to take him in that first round if I can get my hands on him.
Makes more sense than Dynasty to me. Well,
It does make more
like
sense
your
in Dynasty.
I like
It
them
does.
both, to be honest.
It does.
Okay, so we're reaching the end of our time here. So let's go ahead and play a little game to wrap this up. We're gonna do some blind player rankings. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you 5 players, one at a time. You're gonna rank them 1 through 5. Okay, and at the end, we'll see if you put them in the right order. Okay, so these will be quarterbacks. I'm going to throw in a couple legacy quarterbacks, and I'll just tell you right here, right up front, there's no Tom Brady, so you don't have to worry about his name popping up. Okay, so we'll kick it off. The first name is Justin Herbert.
4.
4. Okay. Number 2, Jordan Love.
3.
Okay. Are you feeling good about that one?
That one I felt good about. The first one, I'm feeling a little iffy.
You're not going to feel too good after hearing this next name, and that's Sam Darnold.
Yeah, 5.
Okay. So these next 2 guys have to be better than Jordan Love and Justin Herbert. Next, we have Eli Manning.
Oh, shit. Being a Giants fan, hate to love him. I'll say 2.
Okay. And being a Giants fan, the last name on this list, your number 1 quarterback, Dak Prescott.
I'm not upset about that. I'm not. In a fantasy sense, I'm not too upset about that.
So how do we feel? We got Dak Prescott, Eli Manning, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, and Sam Darnold. Any that you wish you could take back?
Correct. If I did have them all sitting in front of me before you said their names, I would have that be looking a little bit differently. But that being said, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
The Giants fan, you heard it here first. The Giants fan putting Dak Prescott above Eli Manning. All right, so that's it for today. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe, drop a review, tell us what landing spots you're most terrified of or which ones you love the most. And may your kids sleep all night, Jeff.
8 hours straight.